I mean, look, if you have a gun, if you've gone out in the woods, you've gone anywhere and you've had a gun, you had a holster, you have your gun in your holster. Well, when you take that gun out and you use it, that gun goes back in your holster, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the place for your gun, okay? So when you go out in the woods with your knife, you're going anywhere with your knife comes out of your sheath, out of its sheath. You do whatever you're going to do with the knife, and then you put the knife back in your sheath, right?
Yes.
So now he has this knife, this K-bar, supposedly. It hasn't been found. And it was in a sheath with the U.S. Marine Corps emblem on it, USMC written on it, and it's conveniently left there near Maddie's body, right?
Yeah, they said under or next to, yes.
Okay, so now did he forget it there? And now he has a knife with blood on it, with no sheath. So where does he put it? Do you put it on your clothes? You wipe it on your clothes? You put it in your pocket? You have it in your hand? The girl that saw him come down the steps didn't see a knife. Maybe she just missed it, the darkness. But now you have this knife with all this evidence on it and your blood on it and everything else, and you have no sheet because you left your sheet upstairs. You forgot it upstairs. So now, do you turn around and go back up, or you just run out the door? But where do you have that knife? You get in your car with this bloody knife? Because now you got evidence all over the place, not only in the house, but it's on your clothes, and maybe it's in your car or something.
Yeah.
So I'm wrestling with that because I've told you this.
Yes.
Or was his big get over?
Imagine trying to open your car door and drive away while holding a K-bar knife. You'd quickly realize that without a sheath, it would be impossible to safely put the knife away. A K-bar knife is pretty substantial, with a 7-inch blade and a total length of 12 inches, weighing almost a pound. If the perpetrator was comfortable using such a weapon, it would be instinctive for them to put it back in the sheath after using it. There's no way the killer left the sheath behind by accident. It was either planted or it belonged to one of the victims. Considering that, it's highly unlikely the intruder would enter a home with the knife still in the sheath unless it was secured on their belt. Brian Koberger, known for having a master's degree, is unlikely to be careless enough to leave such evidence behind or to allow for so many unknown variables that could lead to his arrest or worse. In Idaho, almost everyone owns a gun, so it's very risky to break into someone's home unless you know they aren't armed with one. Also, the prosecutor mentioned there was no evidence of Brian stalking the victims. So, how could someone plan this crime without stalking the victims and learning their habits and routines? Realistically, it seems improbable that this crime could be committed without someone on the inside providing intel about when the victims arrived home and went to bed. It's more likely that someone on the inside gave information, leading to the door being unlocked, the dog being put away, and all residents being in their bedrooms at the same time. Anyone who values their freedom wouldn't enter such a high-risk situation without being ready to attack at any moment. Committing a quadruple murder while holding a sheath just doesn't make sense.
That tells you the most. Most people think it's 2022. Why is it taking so long? Why don't we know what happened? First of all, I'm assuming that there's no eyewitness, none that we know of yet. So what does that tell you? That tells you the most important evidence is the forensic evidence that will identify who the killer was. Not only do we have from one parent that there were defensive wounds, okay, which means, that the killer may have been in a fight and maybe he got cut, but we also know that the knife, which is a Rambo knife, was pressed into the hilt, which is where the bruising came from. So there were tremendous screams. There had to be a tremendous fight here. And yet, if you got a local police department that is responding to a call of someone being unconscious, what does that tell you? That tells you that these kids, the two who made the call, and now we know that the call came from one of their phones, the kids on the first floor, what did they see? How much of the room did they see? Why did they say unconscious as opposed to dead when there was blood running out of the house onto the outside of the house? And Where did they get this unconscious from? Why are they saying that? Are there footprints in the bedroom on the second and third floor? If there was so much blood, then what you've got is a killer who certainly is stepping in the blood as he's killing these kids. But in addition to that, you've got the other two kids. You've got to eliminate their footprints. Then you've got the local police responding to unconscious. I guarantee you they didn't have any kind of slippers on, or they didn't have any idea that this would be a quadruple serial homicide. So they would have messed up the scene. And I don't mean to criticize the local PD. They can't be expected to understand how this stuff works. And 4 of them killed. Were they bound and gagged? Were they incapacitated with a drug? How does the other 2 kids not hear anything? How do the other 2 of the 4 dead not hear anything? I mean, I'm sure they were a happy gang that were drunk, but they were at that food truck a few minutes before. They were, they were capable. They weren't dropping down drunk. And then finally, the one thing I want to say is that this should have been a case where the FBI was called in immediately. Their forensic evidence and potential is unparalleled.
They're involved now, though, right?
They are involved now, but it's too late. The crime scene has been contaminated, so that when we get to the trial, assuming someone is ever, and it may be they and not someone, it may be more than one person to bound and gag and stab and kill these 4 people who were young and would have put up a fight. Then the question is, the forensic evaluation that you have, the crime scene was contaminated. We don't know if it's his or hers or 8 other people.
Brian?
So we know eliminate the Uber driver or the community driver, eliminate that. The guy in the white shirt at the truck, we eliminate him. The roommates, we eliminate them. Oh, wait a second. So why are you eliminating them? What do they do to make you feel as though you're eliminated? And to your point is that I don't understand. They keep saying one of the phones, instead of just saying a roommate used the phone and made the call, they just say the phone was used. Well, who made the call on the phone? And what do you mean they were unconscious? You called somebody else because your friends were unconscious. How could you be bleeding to death and unconscious? That's impossible.
It's astonishing to me that some people genuinely believe this investigation was handled properly. Actually, properly isn't the right word. Mistakes happen, but this goes beyond that. These individuals have actively tried to conceal, misinform, and create a false narrative. Every basic fact was altered when the PCA was released. I understand that the police don't have to disclose everything to protect the investigation's integrity. However, lying to the public and spreading misinformation is a completely different matter. And let's not forget they removed evidence from a crime scene using a U-Haul. That's far from normal.
Dana?
Can I ask the judge a question as part of my time?
Yes.
I just wonder if you have this situation and you're putting together a profile, if somebody commits a murder of 4 people, would that be the first time they ever committed a crime? Or like we've seen before, like in the Colorado Springs shooting, there had been trouble and police interaction in the past.
So is this a first-time killer? I seriously doubt it. I really do doubt it. They keep saying he was
The sheer
sloppy.
rarity of a quadruple homicide is something people often overlook. When it occurs inside a home, by a stranger wielding a knife, it's akin to seeing a unicorn. And unicorns don't exist. Typically, mass murders involve a firearm and are fueled by emotions like envy and revenge, often sparked by a bruised ego. This pent-up rage explodes into impulsive, frenzied violence. These individuals are usually simmering with anger and clinging to old grudges. There can also be a more mission-oriented motive, which involve a lot of planning. Those people feed off being feared by the public and tend to contact law enforcement or the media, especially when they hear something false or that makes them seem weak.
I really do doubt it. They keep saying he was sloppy. He was sloppy. What does that mean? Does that mean, that he left footprints or fingerprints? Well, show him, make an arrest, get the DNA, do it. Or does it mean that it was sloppy as a result of what happened? Kids sliding in blood. You don't know what happened, where they were found. But chances are you kill 4, not for the first time.
But he's not that sloppy because they haven't caught him yet. My profile of this person is a fellow student at the university who saw this group of students who were popular in Greek life, well put together, had a lot of potential, and were going places, and he wasn't going places. And he was not in this scene, and he was jealous, and he was envious, and he flew into a fit of rage, targeted them, scoped them out, went in there with a knife, which is personal, And he wanted to see the fear in their eyes when you're stabbing someone. He wanted to process that and feed off of that. And God knows where he is now. But we had Furman on last night.
Yeah.
And he told me you look at the blood splatter and you can tell if someone's right-handed or left-handed. And then you got to get a print, hopefully, because then you could kind of tell the shoe size, the type of shoe. But there's not a lot of other things to go on right now. And a lot of people are saying that the police, and you know, because you made the point, they haven't seen a homicide in 7 years in this town. They need a lot of help.
There's no weapon, right?
They don't have their weapon.
So we just assume.
And they say it's the one weapon, okay? And they say one guy. And that the whole
So that's what I'm
idea.
saying. So they think it's only one guy. Are
Yeah.
you convinced of that?
No.
Okay.
And by the way, if he was, if he was jealous of them, why didn't he kill the other two? They were in bed at the same time.
Upstairs.
question.
Upstairs, different floor.
First floor. So everyone was on a different floor. Okay, we got to go.
Terrible story. Coming up next, radio host Charlemagne the God.